Good evening and welcome to the ASBA Maricopa County meeting. My name is Jill Humphreys and I'm a proud school board member in the Gilbert Unified School District.
And I am Tracy Sawyer Sinkville, a proud school board member for the Dysart Unified School District. And we are Maricopa County co-directors serving on the Arizona School Board Board of Directors.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stephen Chapman, your president of the Arizona School Boards Association and a proud member of the Tolleson Union High School District. Thank you for taking time out of your busy evening to join us for some important learning and conversations. By the time we close this evening, I hope for three things: that you learn more about what ASBA offers you and your board to support your work as community and educational leaders. We are your association. Two, that you see yourself in the work of the organization and how you can become more involved. Involvement by a diversity of our membership is critical to the success of an organization like ours. And three, that you have honestly shared your experiences of governing during COVID-19 so that we can not only support you during this time, but assist you in moving forward successfully. And real quick, before I pass it back over to your county directors, I just want to acknowledge for all of our school board members, administrators on this call, I want to acknowledge you on behalf of ASBA for the work that you've been doing this semester, making sure that we're still serving our students, keeping our students and staff safe, our students fed, educated, supporting your communities to the best of your abilities. So I just want to personally, and on behalf of ASBA, thank you for all the work that you've been doing this year in light of this pandemic. And I will turn it now back over to Jill and Tracy.
Thank you. So, Jill, we start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I pledge allegiance
to
to
the flag
Flag
of the United States of America and to
and
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
liberty and justice
and justice
for
for all.
Woo. Yes. And now please unmute yourself and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh boy. Okay, so thank you. Some traditions are just too important to skip, even if the meeting is virtual. Before we move forward, please unmute yourselves again. Apologies there. So tonight's agenda is...
Okay, we've got a jam-packed meeting planned for you tonight, as you can see from the agenda. Members of the ASBA staff, the ASBA Board of Directors officer team, and Tracy and I will be sharing lots of information with you. But we're also counting on you to share some important information with us and with each other during the second annual Power Town Hall. Tonight's topic will be governance challenges during COVID-19, and there are plenty of them. Thanks to the miracle of technology, we're going to be able to break out into small groups to discuss this year's topic and then come back together to share out in the full group. At the end of the night, we'll be doing a prize drawing for 3 books. You must be present to win, so we hope you'll stay until the end. Before we go any further, we're going to take a moment to go over some norms and protocols, Zoom etiquette you might call it, for this meeting. We'll give you a few handy tips designed to improve your experience. I will turn it over to Nikki Whaley, ASBA Board Support Specialist.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. At this point in our COVID experience, many of us, if not all of us, are pretty well-versed in the online protocols. However, we just want to go through a few real quickly. The first is that we hope you've found a quiet place where you can be fully focused. And that may require you to let people know that you are in the middle of a meeting so that they don't barge in on you unless they're interested in being on screen. If you are having any difficulties watching the stream, or if you find that your computer is freezing, you may want to try a couple of things. One is that you can turn off your camera. But if you can keep your camera on with the assistance of decreased Wi-Fi usage, meaning that if you've turned the Wi-Fi off of your other devices like your cell phones and laptops that are not in use, you may be able to keep your camera on so we can see your smiling faces without any lag. The other thing that we're going to ask you to do is to go ahead. We're going to ask you to use the chat at various portions of this training, but please do avoid having long conversations in there, especially with multiple board members on this meeting. We don't want to have any kind of cross chat that may leave us open to violations. So with that, I'm going to move to the next slide. If you're not familiar with Zoom, if this is not the platform you usually use, if you hover just to the bottom, or sometimes on your cell phone, it would be on the top of your panel, you'll see the microphone and the video. That is how you turn off and on both your mic and your streaming video. And then to the far right, you'll see a little smiley face with a plus sign. That is a reaction icon. And so if you hover over that and you click on it, you have several options or emojis that you can use to participate. So this is just a fun way as we're going through the night to participate. You can give people a hand or celebrate them when we are giving celebrations and acknowledgements, or if there's anything that you find particularly humorous, we have something for that as well. Next slide. The last thing that I'm going to mention is in the right corner, you have a grid that looks, that says view, or it might just have several boxes. If you click on the single box or side-by-side speaker view, that will allow you to watch both the power deck or the PowerPoint deck and whoever is currently speaking. If you don't have it on that, it's fine. You're just going to see a lot of different people and you won't necessarily see the person that's speaking. It'll be whoever's popped up on your deck. So those are a couple hints. And if you have any issues, you can go ahead and use the chat and I'll try my best to help you behind the scenes. So this is back to Jill, I believe. Oh no, Tracy or Jill?
It's back to Karen. I believe it's turned back over to Karen. Okay, it might be me. Yes, here we go. Thank you for those tips, Nikki. We've all learned so much about how to operate in this digital world lately, and best practices of online meetings is part of that. And now I'd like to welcome a very important person to our organization, our new Executive Director, Dr. Sheila Harrison Williams. Dr. Williams joined ASBA in January of this year after retiring from a long and successful career as an educator and administrator in Illinois. And what a moment in time she stepped into. But Dr. Williams is leading without missing a beat, and we're thankful for that, and working with staff and board to navigate through and grow and innovate into circumstances unlike any other we've seen before. Tonight, she'll tell us more about what's new at ASBA and how our association is working for us. Dr. Harrison. Dr. Harrison, you're on.
Okay. All right. There. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry about that. As many times if I've done this, you would think on the last night I'd have it perfectly correct. However, I forgot to unmute myself. Again, thank you, County Director Tracy Sawyer-Sink-Bell, for that great introduction. It is so great to be here with you tonight. But I must say, I wish I was actually there in person with you this evening. When I joined ASBA, everyone told me how much they thought I would enjoy seeing this beautiful state and meeting all the outstanding board members during the county meetings. Well, I've met many of you, and I'm sure the trips around the state for these meetings will be even sweeter when we hold the meetings in person next year. Looking forward to that. And as Tracy said, it's been quite an interesting 9 months for me. Very interesting. But I'm so proud of the work that we're doing as your association. Now, of course, there's always room for improvement. And this fall, we're asking you to tell us how we're doing through a member survey. This is your association, and we need your input to make ASBA everything you need and want it to be. You should have received an invitation to complete a survey a couple of weeks ago. And if you've already completed that survey, thank you. But if you haven't, please go back into your email, check it out, complete it, and send it back to us right away. We really do care and want your appreciate your feedback. We also appreciate the feedback from all of you who attended our virtual ASBA Law Conference last month. I heard this was a top-notch conference and it was really fantastic. Great speakers, great presenters, and I can't wait until I can experience it in person as well. Between now and the end of the year, we've got 2 more major virtual events remaining, and we're hoping to see all of you there. The first is the new board members orientation on December 2nd. So please keep in mind that, that while this is designed for newly elected and appointed school board members, it is open to all board members and superintendents as well. And then we have the annual conference. Looking forward to that. We think you're going to love how we've transformed this event into a virtual format. We've got 2 great keynote speakers, 15 breakout sessions, and a special guest appearance by Ana Maria Chavez, the amazing Arizonan who was selected to lead the National School Boards Association as its executive director and CEO this past June. So we're looking forward to a great time, although it will be virtual. So please sign up, register for the annual conference. The last 3 items on this slide are related to ASBA's strategic goals, goals that are guiding us as we work to carry out our mission every day and achieve the vision of having the best schools in every Arizona community. Just as strategic planning is essential for boards to reach its goals and serve your community at the highest levels, it's essential for an association like ASBA as well. You know, and as the saying goes, a dream without a plan is just a wish. And if you attended BOATS or Summer Leadership Institute this year, you heard about the importance of strategic planning and what it entails. You also heard how important it is to communicate with those that you serve about the district's strategic goals and the progress you're making. It's my privilege to share with you this evening more about ASBA's 3 focused areas in our strategic plan, developed by our board of directors, and how our staff and board are bringing it to life as we carry out the mission of the association. You should see them here on the screen. As I said earlier, these goals are guiding us as we work to carry out our mission every day and achieve the vision of having the best schools in every Arizona community. Members of our staff team will be talking more about each of these goals tonight, but what you will see, and I want you to pay close attention, because what you will see is that the goals touch every aspect of the work that we do, including all aspects of services we provide to you, our members. Turning it over to Tracy Benson.
Thank you, Dr. Harrison Williams, and hello, Maricopa County friends. I'm Tracy Benson, Associate Executive Director here at ASBA, and I'm going to start off talking with you a little bit tonight about that first goal, the leadership development goal. You may have read on that previous slide that developing highly effective board members is an essential part of that, but so too is providing opportunities to lead beyond the board level. I'm going to talk about the first half of that goal, but you're going to hear from our officer team later this evening about the many opportunities for you to get involved and lead beyond the board level. So this strategic goal is really all about meeting the needs and expanding reach and service in ways that lead to board effectiveness. And we know, and you know, that research shows that effective boards, especially boards who pursue training, get better results for the students they serve. And by better results, that means student achievement, but it means all kinds of student success as well. So understanding your board's needs over the last 7 months has been tricky, just like you all are in a moment that you never imagined you'd be in. It's presented governance challenges that are quite unique. And so we took it upon ourselves and thought it necessary to pick up the phone in April and May and try to get in touch with the board presidents and superintendents at all 223 of our member districts around the state. And staff got on that and made those calls just to check in and say, hey, how's it going? But also to find out what your challenges are and how we could serve you through this period. And we really took that to heart and provided and continue to provide a variety of trainings that are really focused on governing in this virtual world. In fact, at the annual conference that Sheila encouraged you to register for, there'll be a track called Governing in the Virtual World. And a lot of the topics there are based on things that we heard from you that you needed our support and assistance with. We've also worked as part of this goal to really expand the depth and the breadth of the trainings that we are providing, and to provide continuing education for board members throughout the year through webinars. And even before COVID hit, we were planning to provide more webinars and do a few more things in this virtual space, but boy, did that present an opportunity to do even more. I guess that was a silver lining. But over the past year, we've presented about 32 hours of webinar content, which is the equivalent of about 4 or 5 conference days on topics. And I'm sure many of you have listened in on these topics ranging from adverse childhood experiences to equity, public policy issues, best practices in governance. And you can expect more of that from us in the years ahead. But another priority moving forward is getting us together more and in locations closer to where our members are. So you all are fortunate in Maricopa County that so many of our trainings and events happen close by you. But we've got a lot of members outside of Maricopa County. So we're really working to ensure that we're bringing trainings to them closer to their homes. And we'll be expanding some of our most foundational trainings like BOLTS and new board member orientation to more regional locations. Once we can go to regional locations, and we sure hope that is soon. So with that, you have a kind of an overview of where we're headed in this area. I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Chris Thomas, to talk about the advocacy goal.
Thanks, Tracy. Hi, everybody. Again, wish we would all be able to be together, but I think everybody knows why we can't, and we're making it work, and that's what we have to do. And you all are making it work, and I just want to give a shout out to each one of those board members that are out there. You have really tough decisions to make. You have had to make tough decisions. There's probably more of those coming up, and you know, we've tried to give you as many tools as we can, but we never forget the fact that you're the ones that are having to make these tough calls with your administrators as a team. And so we have a lot of, you know, understanding and appreciation for the work that you have been doing. As Tracy mentioned, we have been very active with regard to legislation and public policy. While the legislature got out, you know, of session early, because of COVID, we did have to take care of a number of things about COVID before they left, and get some more flexibility on funding. We fought for going back to funding based on prior year. Unfortunately, we were not able to get there, but we did increase the percentage that they were able to fund us to up to 98%, and provided additional flexibility, but more importantly, predictability for you all. There was a story that just came out in the paper about enrollment being down statewide 50,000, and in some districts I know that it's substantial, and all of us are feeling those enrollment challenges. We have been active in representing you in the various with the various state entities and policymakers, whether it's the governor's office, whether or not it's the Arizona Department of Education, Arizona Department of Health Services. And to that end, I wanted to mention a letter that we had sent out just yesterday about the issue of the ADHS, you know, changing the way that they were looking at the 3 metrics, and their recommendation that all 3 metrics had to go up into the highest category for a school to consider leaving, when it used to be just one of the metrics could be in the danger zone. We worked with the Arizona school administrators to craft a letter letting them know that we were not consulted on it. We didn't appreciate that we weren't consulted on it. in the future that they ought to let us know and to deal with us so that we can work with them. And also reiterating the fact that school districts and school boards still have decisions to make, regardless of what their recommendation is. Each community is going to make that call for themselves, and we will fight for that local control every step of the way. That letter with ASA is kind of a great example of how we do work with other state associations on education. We also, just yesterday, I was involved with the ASBA. We've got this issue of funding being in excess of the constitutional aggregate limit, and working with ADE to make sure that they interpret that in the most favorable way to school districts. So that was an example of us working together. Earlier, you heard from the Arizona Risk Retention Trust that offers property and casualty insurance to most Arizona districts, and the waiver issue that they were having and whether or not they were going to cover COVID-related claims. While the outcome of that was what nobody wanted, including the trust for that matter, we did work with them behind the scenes to get our members prepared, to raise our concerns, and they let us know what was happening before it was released. So those are just examples about how we work behind the scenes for you on behalf of our membership. And what we like to say is when ASBA is in the room, you are in the room. It's our job to represent you at these tables to make sure that the interest of school districts and their governing boards are represented as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to the rest of the program. Again, just hats off to all of you out there for the great, with great appreciation for the hard work that school board members have to, are put in, and the tough decisions they've had to make on behalf of their students and their staff.
Thanks, Chris. So now the third goal. This third strategic goal of our board of directors is focused on equity. And we have had a strategic goal focused on equity for the past 4 years, which I think is awesome and amazing. And I hope you've seen it in the work that we're doing. So this slide is focused on centering on student success through equity. And we know student achievement and positive student outcomes have to be the central work of school boards. You have oversight over policy and funding and the superintendent, and all those things are centered around making sure that students are successful. And we believe, and you have told us, and our board believes, that you can't be successful in terms of achieving success for students without focusing on equity, without looking at the gaps that are in each and every one of our school districts in Arizona and frankly in the nation, to focus on where those gaps are and how you as a board can use your influence and your responsibility to close them. So I know just seeing everyone come into the room that many of you have been to our equity event, which we held for the first time 6 years ago, 2-day conference. We'll be holding it again this year in some form or another for the 7th time. But since we kicked that event off, equity has really become a 365-day-a-year endeavor at ASBA. It's embedded into, as Dr. Harrison Williams said, these goals are embedded to all the work we do, and equity is the perfect example of that. From our advocacy work to our training work, to looking at policy through equity lenses. It's in all our departments and it's in all the work that we do. In September, I really wanted to highlight this because I just found it so exciting and a perfect example of this Equity 365. Our keynote speakers at the law conference, Jim Walsh and Clay Jenkinson, and rock star Gail Knight from the Balls Elementary School District in the house, did just an amazing, I think, heartfelt and authentic discussion of racism and anti-racism. And Gail was so eloquent and authentic about her role as a community leader in that work. We've got a great keynote speaker at our annual conference, Byron Garrett, who's going to be focusing on leading in times of change, but through an equity lens, which we're really excited about. And another thing that I hope you have noticed is that our caucus and our alliances have really engaged in producing content and holding meetings and really working to help move this equity goal forward through all the activities that they're doing. This week, we released something very exciting that amplifies our Leading for Equity framework, which we introduced in 2017. It's a workbook that goes around that, and also a 6-hour training that complements it. And we will be holding that training virtually for Arizona board members, November 9th and 10th. I think we have about 30 people signed up for that right now. And it's going to be fine and great in a small group, but we know that there's many more people who ought to experience and would really enjoy and benefit from that training. So if you haven't signed up, I hope you will. This is critical work. You know that, I know that, and we're committed to be your board and your district's partner in it. Share this video with you.
Why equity, student achievement, and positive student outcomes are the central focus of the work of school boards. But gaps in opportunity and access exist in every school and in every district, and they can result in outcome disparities for some students. Outcomes like poor grades, dropping out, or graduating unprepared to pursue their dreams. It is the job of school boards to lead this work of eliminating inequities in their school system that contribute to these gaps so each and every student achieves their fullest potential. Leading for equity. Every student has the ability to succeed, given the right support. But leading for equity takes more than just belief. It requires building a vision of equity in your district and committing to action. When school district leaders take responsibility for strategic and intentional action to close gaps and improve outcomes, they are leading for equity. Establishing a vision, making policy, and setting the budget through the lens of equity are ways boards demonstrate their commitment to this work. This work must be grounded in the understanding that equity is not the same as equality. Equal means same, equitable means fair. The Arizona School Boards Association defines equity as the fair allocation of resources based on need to address opportunity gaps and promote the equal outcomes for every student. Leaders who are successful in closing gaps know that equal is not often equitable. So what else is required? School district leaders must find out which student groups are most impacted by these gaps. They must also find out what underlying factors, both inside and outside the school system, are contributing to them. And school boards and superintendents must have trusting and collaborative relationships with the many communities they serve. Finally, they must be willing to hold themselves accountable, to address gaps and monitor their progress towards improving outcomes for every student. ASBA, your partner in leading for equity. With training, tools, resources, and advocacy, ASBA is here to assist districts throughout the year to achieve their equity goals. Leading for equity isn't optional. Addressing inequities so that each and every student succeeds is essential for our students, and it's essential for the health and success of our state. Will you do your part?
I love the video. And will you do your part? That is absolutely the question of the evening. This is the work that's underway. This is the work that you've asked us to do. This is the work that makes make ASBA your association. This is the work that we do together for the students of Arizona to bring about the best schools in every Arizona community. So at this time, I would like to stop where we are because it is time to celebrate. Let's recognize some accomplishments of the school board members of Maricopa County. And now let's bring back Tracy Sawyer-Sinkville and Jill Humphreys, along with Nikki Whaley. Thank you again for your attention. Ladies.
All right, thank you. All right, celebration time. Tracy, are you ready to celebrate?
Oh yeah, let's do this. So before we let you know who is going to be recognized for their training accomplishments, I'm going to invite Nikki to tell you a little bit more about how these awards are earned. Nikki.
Yes, so here at ASBA, we have the ASBA Academy of Board Development. And if you've been around for a little while, you probably knew about that. We collect CEUs or continuing education units on board development and board growth through our activities that we provide, including events, webinars, and even individualized trainings that you may have ASBA come out and do for you. So as you accumulate those, you can achieve different levels of recognition. And the new board member orientation is your gateway into this awards program. So if you have achieved the new board member orientation and you continue to do trainings, you have already been entered and are already eligible to win these awards. And if you have not yet attended new board member orientation, if you're relatively new, we will be having that again this year prior to the annual conference. So with that, let's see who's winning some awards tonight.
It's my pleasure to recognize recipients of the Certificate of Orientation and Certificate of Boardmanship Awards. So Certificate of Orientation, Pedro Lopez. Certificate of Boardmanship, Ron Alexander, Dr. Kino Flores, Sandra Gill, Patty Husey, Adam Lopez Falk, Lindsay Love, Sandy Lowe, Jim Miligarino, Nancy Pina Gray, Margaret Pratt, Julie Reed, Corey Underwood, Kevin Walsh, Fern Ward, Jill Wilson, and Melissa Zuidema.
Yay, congrats, everyone.
Congratulations.
So receiving Associate of Boardsmanship are Associate of Boardsmanship, Allison Beckham, Susan Benjamin, Denise Garcia, Amy Kaler, Susan Matura, Hilda Ortega Rosales, Nancy Pena Gray, Julie Reed, David Sandoval, Louisa Stark, Charlotte Vass, Fern Ward, and Melissa Zudima. And next, receiving their Master of Boardsmanship, wow, are Elena Aguilar de Martinez, Michelle Anderson, Dan Blackson, Jeannie Gastine, Gina DeCoste, Susan Matura, and Monica Trejo. Woo! Love it.
Moving up to the Star Award categories. Copper Star Awards, Danielle Clymer, Michelle Helm, Gail Knight, Judith Rutowski, Annette Sexton Ruiz, Nikki Whaley, and receiving her turquoise star is Anne O'Brien.
Yes.
Congratulations.
But wait, there's more. These folks really are stars for their commitment to pursuing training. Receiving the Silver Star are Sue Corbin, Patty Kennedy, and Sarah Smith. And receiving the highest level of CEU award in the ASBA Academy of Boardsmanship program, the Gold Star, we have Patricia Blair, Dolores Brown, and Maxine Redkey. Yay!
Yay! So that is a lot of training hours. Let me just tell you. I also want to explain to you that you saw, first let me recognize and then I'll go back and explain.
One more.
So this is the first year. Okay. You're switching it up on me. All right, I got it.
Okay.
This is the first year that we are doing the Journey Award. So 2 years ago, we launched the Begin Your ASBA Journey for new board members. And they were given a roadmap for their first 2 years of service. And they were asked to attend all of our signature events, including the annual conference, the legislative workshop, law conference, Bolts, county meetings, etc. And we have one person who has won the Journey Award, and that is Susan Mantura from Paradise Valley. So let's give her a hand. And you might have seen her name several times along with some other folks. If you see your name several times, what that means is that you earned, you might have been just on the cusp of earning both awards and you've put in enough time and effort to earn both awards. Or perhaps you recently completed a new board member orientation, and that kicked off all of your other units to finally catch up to you. And now you're receiving all of your awards. So if you've been attending trainings, but you haven't seen any awards yet, it may be because you haven't taken that initial training. And once that's complete, you'll very quickly catch up, and all those other trainings that you've been taking will have paid off. So let's go to the next slide. I also want to take this time to recognize our total board award winners. And this means that the majority of your board have completed a significant number of training hours. And so this year we would like to recognize the Chandler Unified School District Governing Board, including Barb Marsden, Laura Bruner, David Evans, Lindsay Love, and Karen McGee. The Deer Valley Unified School District with Ann Ordway, Jenny Frank, Ann O'Brien, Julie Reed, and Darcy Tweedy. The Higley Unified School District with Christina Reese, Scott Glover, Amy Kaylor, Jill Wilson, and Greg Wojcicki. I know I butchered that. I'm so sorry. And then the Kyrene Elementary School District, Michael Mayrick, Michelle Faye, John King, Margaret Pat, and Kevin Welsh. Do we have one more? I think we might have one more. Let's see. Oh, nope. That is all the celebrations. We are a giant county, and we are so proud to have so many award recipients today. So with that, we're going back to Stephen Chapman.
Yep, as soon as I wake up here. All right. Thank you, everyone, and congratulations to all of our CU Award recipients. Job well done. As you know, ASBA is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. As an association, we're a little different than a typical nonprofit. Not only do we have people we serve, which is you, we have members, your school boards, who help determine how we serve you. So you, ASBA members, are both our customers and our owners. Dr. Harrison Williams and members of her team have given you a glimpse into the kinds of strategic services we are providing. And now my officer colleagues and I from the board of directors will take a look with you at your roles as owners. And I will now turn it over to Ann O'Brien.
Good evening, everyone. I am the president-elect for the ASBA Board of Directors and a member of the Deer Valley Unified School District Governing Board. Before we get into the details, I want to make sure everyone understands that ASBA members are actually the districts. I'm not a member, but the Deer Valley Unified School District Governing Board that I serve on is. Tonight, we'll talk about the ways my board and yours get and should participate in the governance and direction of ASBA, and also how you, as an individual school board member, can play a role. James?
Yes, thank you, Ann. Good evening, everyone. I'm James Bryce. I'm a proud member of Solomon Elementary School District Governing Board in Graham County, and I am serving this year as secretary on the ASBA Board of Directors. I'll be talking to you about your board's role. First, bylaws. Your board is a part of shaping our governing document. As a 501c3, we are governed by bylaws, and they supplement the rules already defined by the state corporation code. And they are the guide on how we run. Our bylaws require member boards to vote to approve any changes to the bylaws. Every member board has the opportunity to submit suggested bylaw changes, and every member board, also should be voting on those amendments to the bylaws that move forward. So now we'll discuss, as a member board, what do we get to do? One of the things as a member board, you shape our political agenda, which determines how we lobby at the legislature, what court cases we get involved with or initiate, and even the focus of content at our events, webinars, and in publications like AZ Ed News. Every board has an opportunity to submit items to our legislative committee for consideration to be included on the draft political agenda. And each fall, we ask every board to send a delegate to represent them in voting on the final political agenda at our delegate assembly. I hope all your boards had a delegate at the delegate assembly earlier this month. Remember, every district, no matter how big or small, has the same voting power. And this is a critical way to make your board's voice heard. So also as a member board, we take part in our annual business meeting. Your board helps shape ASBA's core beliefs and decide who will serve in officer positions on the ASBA Board of Directors by sending a delegate. to vote at the annual business meeting, and we'll talk more on this later. And finally, as a member board, you also select the 17 members of the ASBA Board of Directors who hold county director seats. Boards in each county elect their county director, each of whom serves a 2-year term on our board. I believe you have an election this evening, so now we'll turn it over to Tori Anderson.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be with Maricopa County tonight. I am Tori Anderson. I am with the Maricopa Unified School District, and I am your current ASBA treasurer. And it's been an interesting year, as for all of us, I'm sure. So here is how you, as a board member, can get involved as an individual. And this is how you can make a difference in the advocacy, not only in your own board, but in the whole state going forward. So these are the committees that I really want to encourage you to sign up and join, because I need and we need your input. That is what's going to make a difference in public education. So the first one is the governance committee. And if you are a governance junkie and you like to know what's going on with the bylaws and policies, this is the one for you. Each one of these committees meets usually once a year, twice if there's a lot going on, but generally you can plan on once a year. So the governance committee will look at our bylaws and any recommendations and then forward those to the board of directors. The next committee is the budget and financial oversight committee, which I had the honor to be able to chair this year. But if you're interested in finances and what's the financial security and the strategic plan that we've got forward for our finances, then this would be the committee for you. And this committee also makes a recommendation for an audit and looks over the 990 as a nonprofit. The next committee, which again, I think is probably the most important one, I'm a little biased. I have been able to chair the legislative committee, but this is how we can make a difference at the state level. So the legislative committee meets and you look at all of the different inputs that has been given by each one of the boards. Everybody has that form they fill out usually in the spring, and you need to get that in. And then the legislative committee looks at that and puts together a legislative agenda for the delegate assembly. So if you're interested in the whole legislative process, that is the one for you. A new one we have is the equity committee. And this one, we started last year, but this is a great opportunity for boards to get involved. If you're interested in moving equity forward at the state level and kind of knowing what is going on with ASBA's equity plans, this would be the committee for you. And I certainly encourage you to join that if you're interested in bringing that to the table and making sure you have a say. The next one is the nominating committee. This committee is actually a standing committee. It's in our bylaws, so you do have to meet once a year, sometimes twice, but usually the nominating committee, you are going to vet and look at the applications for the executive committee. And it's your job to look at all the applications and make recommendations going forward at the business meeting, which this year will be December 3rd. So if you're interested in that and having a say in who the next leadership is, that's the one for you. And finally, the credentials committee. This is the committee that makes sure that everybody that's on the floor at the delegate assembly and at the business meeting and is actually registered and a board member in good standing. And you also serve as the sergeant of arms. So if you're interested in having a small piece of what goes on in each one of those meetings, you are required to be at the delegate assembly and at the business meeting. But it's a great opportunity for you to get involved in just a little small way. So we are going to drop a link into the chat box for you to sign up for one of these committees. And you know what? We have so many people at Maricopa County. Come on, you got to sign up. You got to help us out here. I know you love it. We need your input. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is our alliance and our caucuses. So if you serve students that are Native or Hispanic, then I would recommend you sign up for the Native Hispanic Caucus. It's a great way to share information with board members and to bring that understanding and have a platform to make sure that across the state, your students' needs are met, but also the needs in the other communities. So it doesn't cost anything to join these alliances or caucuses, and I highly recommend that you join these because it does give you a little bit more insight. You're able to discuss with board members what they're doing in their district, and you can take that back to your own district. So it is a huge help. We also started this year the Rural Alliance, and I know Kenny Denny is on this call with us or this Zoom meeting. But if you serve students, I know a lot of you in Maricopa County don't, but there are still a few outlying areas. And this might be the opportunity for you to even just find out the difference between what our rural schools have to deal with and what the urban schools deal with. It's a very different mindset, and our students need different things, but it's good to know what's out there. And last, I want to invite you to join our Black Alliance. And Lindsay Love obviously is on this call. She's done a fantastic job as president this year. And I certainly have learned a lot from the different webinars and the information. And I've been able to take that back to my board to serve our students of color, our Black students. And it really is helpful in understanding the different verbiage and the different needs of our students. So I would certainly recommend you join these alliances and these caucuses. Like I said, it doesn't cost anything. And again, we're going to drop that application into the chat box. So now there's no excuse. It's right there at your fingertips. So I think that you'll enjoy just that little bit of extra information that you get. All right, one last way that you can be involved is our board of directors. So every county has one seat on our board of directors, except for Maricopa County and Pima County because of your population. So I know you have an election tonight because you have two county directors. One county director is up for re-election, and we've got a couple of candidates for that. But you will sit on the board of directors, and you're the ones that make the final decision of what ASBA does with our strategic plan, our bylaws, policies, things that need to go forward at the delegate assembly. So it's a good opportunity to be involved. You do meet 4 times a year, and then you do need to be at the annual business meeting as well. So there's that, but then the other great piece, which you all received the application in your email, is you can apply to be a member of the executive committee. So the positions up this year are secretary, treasurer, and president-elect. Ann O'Brien will become the president next year, and you can always reach out to her because the president does have the final say on the committees. And so it's just kind of good to kind of get information on what you do. But I would recommend, if you're interested in taking your service and your advocacy to the next level, please join one of these committees or get involved with the Alliance caucuses. Better yet, get involved with the executive committee. I have thoroughly enjoyed serving you, and it's been my pleasure and my honor to be able to participate in all of the different committees. So log into that chat box, download that link, fill it out, and send it back to us, and I hope to see you on the committee lists. So now I am going to turn it back over to Stephen. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you to my officer colleagues for sharing that information about ways to get involved with ASBA. Please do check out those links to find more ways to get involved as members. So we do have an election tonight. We do have 2 candidates that have notified us that they are interested in running for this position. We did ask candidates to notify us ahead of time. Before we get to the candidate speeches, I'm just going to go over real quick the election procedures. All ASBA member districts in the county are eligible to vote. The delegate identified by your district will cast your board's vote. The delegate name for your district must have been submitted prior to the meeting. A voting link will be provided in the chat. And when the candidates have completed their 2-minute speeches, the voting will open. And I will announce the election results at the end of the meeting. So if we can go to the next slide real quick. This year we had submit Brian Garcia from the Tempe Union High School District and Tracy Sawyer-Sneakball from Dysart Unified School District. That slide was the delegate slide, I see. So I'm going to allow each of the candidates 2 minutes to address our delegates on why they should be your next Maricopa County director. And we will go ahead and start with the way the sheet is listed. So Brian Garcia from Tempe, you will have 2 minutes, followed by Tracy Sawyer-Sneakball from Dysart.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you so much to our co-directors, ASBA leadership and staff for organizing our county meeting. I'm excited that this is the last one, so I won't take up too much of your time. My name is Brian Garcia. I currently serve as the VP of Tempe Union. I'm a member of the Basque tribe. A little bit about me. I'm fortunate enough to represent the community that I grew up in. I'm the first in my family to graduate from high school, go on to college, master's degree, and now a law degree. And thanks to our teachers and community leaders that have helped me along the way. I want to continue doing that for our members and communities and the students that we serve. A few things that I would like to do, including the traditional roles of co-county director, include the following. Mental health, as we know, is critical for our students, staff, but also for ourselves. As community representatives and elected officials, we want to help our own membership to have additional access and support and resources A quick story: about a year ago, I lost my dad to stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and that was a tough loss for all of us. Since then, grieving that loss has been very difficult, but thankful for learning from it. When the pandemic hit, that was another layer that I was certainly not familiar with, and sought out resources not only for myself, but more for my family. And I share this because in our capacities, we strive to ensure all the support so our students can succeed and thrive. But we need to make sure that we also take care of our own mental health too. Additionally, wanting to connect with folks to meet them where they are and continue to further help our own communities. When I first got on the board, Tracy Benson made it a mission to reach out. And I was new to all of this. So it was because of her passion and her support that I was able to get connected to different opportunities and members to further our work collectively and for our individual districts. I'm in awe of Tracy and her work and support. And I share this because, as we all know, in a little bit of time, we will have a new group of folks joining us. And so further connecting our districts to help support and all, not only them, but our students, and advance the work as we succeed together. And then finally, contributing and building on the current work. Thanks to the trust of fellow colleagues, I got to serve on the equity committee and learn from various perspectives, and wanting to continue to work and explore creative ways to build on this work. So I hope to continue to get to know you all, work with you all, and earn your support. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Brian. And now, Tracy, you will have 2 minutes to address the delegates as well.
Thank you, delegates. Good evening. My name is Tracy Sawyer-Sinkville, and I've had the pleasure of serving as your Maricopa County co-director for the past 2 years, and with the lovely assistance of Jill Humphreys. I believe we've worked well as a team together, and I have served on so many different committees, the legislative, the governance, the finance committee, and credential committee, legislative, and each one of those has provided me a greater outlook on how I can assist you. And my job as the Maricopa County Co-Director has been to assist you, the school board members of Maricopa County, assist you in your mission and your passion as you lead your district and the community. I know for the past several months we have had issues that we have never seen before, and I hope I have provided some assistance to help you in your job as governing board member for Maricopa County. Like to keep the focus as the student success as our main focus, but also what has always endeared to me is my guiding force of servant leadership, and those 5 principles such as building community, awareness, the empathy, healing, listening, persuasion. All of those have assisted me in helping each of our board members do what they have pledged to do. So I just ask for your support again for this evening for the next 2 years, serving again as your Maricopa County co-director. Thank you, and that's it.
All right, thank you, Tracy. If you, Tracy Benson, if you could put the delegate slide back up, just for everyone's reference. So if your name is on here in a moment, or actually just now, the SurveyMonkey link was dropped in there for you to vote. You will see both Brian and Tracy on there. So go ahead and please click on that link if your name is on the delegate list and cast your vote. And again, I will be announcing those results at the end of the meeting. Thank you, Brian and Tracy, for throwing your hat into the ring for this. And I am now going to turn it over to Nikki for the next portion of our meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. So this is where we are going to pick your brains and get a little bit more information from you. As we talked about earlier, or we mentioned earlier on, last year we did the Power Town Hall for the first time, and that was around school safety. And we were able to collect information from all of our counties across the state to provide information to the legislators, to folks that ASBA has been asked to come and give guidance to. So we were able to bring the voices of all of our counties from across the state to really help shape that discussion. This year, in the early parts of the COVID pandemic, we reached out to every single school district, members of the ASBA staff that is, we reached out to every school district superintendent and board president to ask, how can we be of service? What's going on in your district? What is it that you want us to do? And as we heard earlier, one of the things that we did was fight for funding and for some leeway in some of the requirements that are normally required of school boards during this time. Now we want to circle back around now that it's been 6-7 months into the pandemic, and we want to see what is still on your mind. So the question is today, we're going to pose to you is about COVID and how you all are dealing with that. So going back to the other slide, just in case you're not familiar with breakout rooms, in a little while, you will be invited. You'll see a little pop-up box that says you've been invited to join a breakout room. Please do click on that room. We do separate everybody out into random groups. And if people don't participate, then somebody might be sitting in a room all by themselves, and we don't want that to happen. So you will get a pop-up box that asks you to join. And once you get in that room, it'll be a smaller group of about 5 or 6 people. We're going to ask somebody to pay attention to the time. We'll give you about 7 to 10 minutes in that room to answer the question. And then we're going to ask somebody to be the scribe. So somebody should be taking some notes, because when we enter back into the main room, we're going to ask that scribe to enter the notes into the chat. The reason for that is I'm not there, Julie's not there to dictate on the big white papers what everybody is saying. So we need you to help us collect this information so that we can better serve you. So if that scribe can come back and put it in the chat, that will help us compile the information, and then we can create the paperwork. Next slide. So the question that is going to be posed to you as you enter into your breakout rooms is, what has been the most difficult and challenging thing during this time? And that could be as an individual board member. So for example, maybe as an individual board member, just dealing with such a monumental task when you have so many more eyes on you. Sometimes we have nobody in our audience. And right now we have lots of people interested in what we're doing. So maybe you're having some struggles just as an individual board member and adjusting to these times. Or maybe there's still things that you as your full board are struggling with, even now that we're 6 months in, whether that be, you know, how you're going to deal with the pandemic next year, and maybe you're still trying to get resources, whatever that is, we'd love to hear from you. So with that, I am going to ask Tracy to send you out into breakout sessions, and we will see you back here for a conversation in a little bit.
Hey, Brenda, everybody's in breakout rooms. Do you want me to move you to a breakout room? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I accidentally dropped myself when I went to set up the fact that I could use my mic.
Do you want to move into a breakout room? There's 2 minutes left.
Well, I think I was in Gail. I don't think anything had started yet when I accidentally dropped.
Whose room were you in?
I think group 6.
Okay, let me move you in there. Okay, see ya.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I know that some of you might have been kicked out mid-conversation. We were just wrapping up our conversation in the breakout room that I was in. But I hope you got some valuable information, got to hear some things, some different perspectives. I know for me, it was interesting to hear the experience of some larger districts versus some smaller districts and how that seemed to be a difference as well. So with that, we've learned not to just wait for people to volunteer. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have Tracy call on a room, a breakout room, and whoever is the speaker for that breakout room will go ahead and share just a few things that they talked about. If you were the scribe for your group, or if you maybe forgot to appoint a scribe and you're willing to put the stuff in the chat, if you can open up the chat and just start putting in some of the things that you're all talked about, that would be very helpful.
Nikki, let us hear from room 6. That's Brenda Bartles, Dr. Perlette Ramos, Gail Knight, and Jane Hunt. Who's your designated spokesperson, folks?
Remember to unmute too, because you got muted when you came back in.
We never did get to really a discussion.
Oh, all righty. Then I would like to call on room 8, and that is Devin Del Palacio, Jill Humphreys, Kenny Denny, Paul Stanton, and Stephen Peterson.
I put in the chat, if you can see over there, the challenging and difficult for our group was when to open schools and how to transition, the division it's caused in our communities with the folks that want to open all 5 days and those that are concerned with the virus, receiving information from various county offices. By the way, thank you for having us with rural and metropolitan and a very diverse group. So good information to make good decisions. Ensuring our parents are informed because there is so much misinformation out there. They need accurate information. Had a little discussion on sports because we're dealing with the issue now of people not willing to share their information because of the futures of their children, or at least that's their perspective. And then example of in a district where you might be going red, your high school seems to have more cases, maybe your elementary schools don't. Do you shut down the whole district? Do you shut down just high school? What, how do you divvy this up? And then finally, the rural perspective, that they may not have to move as fast because the movement in their data or the metrics may not be moving as quickly. So that was from our group.
Thank you, Dr. Stanton. Let's hear from room 5. It's an interesting combination. We have Jan Michael Greenberg from Scottsdale, Judy Rutkowski from Fountain Hills, Kevin Walsh from Kyrene, Susan Matura from Paradise Valley, and Yelenia Aguilar from Osborne. So sort of a mix of suburban and urban. I'd like to hear what you talked about.
All right, I took some notes and I just put it in the chat also. So we were getting the feeling that basically emotions are high right now everywhere. But it seems to us, we felt like we were more suburban groups and that maybe more urban and rural stakeholders seem to be more on the same page with each other. And maybe we are just wishful thinking on behalf of those who are not us, but in our groups, our stakeholders are so divided. It's like a 50-50 split on things. Emotions are high, people are angry, very, very, very angry sometimes. And talked about how difficult it is to be balancing wanting to listen and being respectful for all of the stakeholders and hearing them out, but where to draw the line when people start being vulgar and really almost threatening at you. So that was something that we had talked about. And the fact that the state at the last minute just kind of throws things out there and said, oh, did we not tell you that last week we made all these changes? So never mind. Especially I was consulting there with Jan from Scottsdale, knowing that they were, getting close to some, possibly closing schools. And then magically the state's like, never mind, don't do that. You don't have to. Didn't we tell you we changed our mind? So the fact that things are changing just on a whim make it very difficult to do our jobs.
Yeah, for sure. This is our 14th county meeting, so hopefully you feel like we're getting it right because we've had 13 practice sessions before you. But something that we heard in some of the other counties is just the stress and toll that it's taken on folks personally and individually. This is really hard. And it's maybe not what you signed up for or maybe what you expected. Does anyone want to share a little bit about that? Either, how you're feeling or have you been feeling through this or what you're doing to sort of cope with that?
Tracy, can I say something? It's Susan Matura.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had some very, very vocally angry people on Facebook and things like that. And they were really planning to come after us, wanting to picket our houses and come on our properties, and actually did do so in some cases. So it was pretty frightening. And in fact, at one point I got a box delivered to my house that I was not expecting, and it was delivered to me with my school district name on it. And I was very suspicious, left it outside, wouldn't touch it. I was really fearful until I realized it was likely my mug from ASBA for the law conference. Actually texted Julie Bacon and said, might this be my swag from the law conference? And finally did bring it in my house. But I was really, really scared. I mean, it was a fearful time.
Yeah.
Tracy, if I can add to that, I fortunately for us, we have a very vocal group. Unfortunately for us, it was also, it gained traction with our local state senator, Michelle Ugenti-Rita, whom we all love. And I wouldn't say any of us were necessarily fearful for our lives, but it was a very vocal, very angry group of individuals, and they organized using social media. But one thing I did do, because they organized mass emailings to us. I probably have responded to 200-300 emails in the past, in addition to my work emails in the past 2 weeks. But one thing I did was actually try and join their Facebook group. And they wouldn't let me join, but they did instead ask if they could meet with me. And I did that. I met with them for about 3 hours, and our superintendent met with them just yesterday for an hour. And that actually has helped a lot, because even though we won't agree on the issues and we're going to be, polar opposites on a lot of things, they were very respectful when we met, and they understood that we are really trying our best, even if they disagree with the decisions we've made. So that has seemed to lower the temperature quite a bit, because once you move people out of the screens, it's really hard to behave the same way in person. And so that was kind of the approach I tried. But at the same time, we were not sent the same threats that Paradise Valley was sent, and many people around the district. I mean, I've heard of superintendents, especially, who have been really harassed. And that's just not acceptable. I mean, I could understand not meeting with people in a climate like that, because it could be dangerous.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jan Michael. I think some of the work we're going to have to do once we get past COVID is not just healing our bodies, but healing our communities a little bit to get past some of these feelings that have come up as a result of this. Nikki, what else do you have for us on this conversation?
I think we could probably talk all day, and we do have a large group, but we still have some content to get through, election results. So I would say just continue to use the chat box. If there's anything else that came up for you, if you didn't get a chance to share, or something just occurred to you, please feel free to use the chat. It will be open until the end of the night. We have about 10-15 minutes left. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over. I believe Lee will be doing the legislative update tonight.
Hi, Nikki, thanks. It's great to virtually see you all. Usually I prefer in-person meetings, but I must say I don't miss being stuck on the 10 at this time of day. So that's a plus at least. It's been a crazy year in a lot of ways, only one of which being our legislative schedule. So due to COVID, they stopped doing business at the end of March, which is about halfway through the typical legislative calendar, which means only a handful of education-related bills actually became law. Of course, some of those was good news. We were happy to see them go, but some we were pretty sad that they didn't make it over the finish line we were working hard on, like Senate Bill 1048, which created a disciplinary framework for non-certificated school employees, much like what we currently use for teachers, as well as Senate Bill 1060, which increased funding for special education. So we're hoping some of that comes back in 2021, and also expect to be pretty busy with legislation related to the COVID response based on feedback from you guys doing the heavy lifting in your school districts. We had our virtual delegate assembly 2 Saturdays ago and adopted a special section to the 2021 agenda specifically related to COVID. So be on the lookout for that document to be sent out to the membership shortly, It's with a graphic designer now, making it look all pretty, but please look that over, see what legislative priorities we're going to be working on next year. And if you see something that you need, reach out to us. That's not just because that's the list, it's not exhaustive. So if there's something that you really see need for your district, please email me or Chris, and we will talk about what we can do for next year, because it's going to be a busy one. Next slide, please. Right now is already busy. I don't know if you guys have heard, if you're living blissfully under a rock without television or radio where political ads don't reach, but the election is on Tuesday. If you have an absentee ballot and haven't dropped it off in the mail yet, please drop it in person, either at a polling place or at one of the designated drop boxes around the valley, to make sure that it gets counted on time, make sure the mail gets it there in time. You can check out the Maricopa County Recorder's website for a list of locations. And the two big things that we are paying attention to in ASBA GR land are state legislative races and Prop 208. So in Arizona, we have 30 legislative districts, and each one has 1 senator and 2 representatives. Legislators are elected for 2-year terms, and they're all up for re-election at the same time. So there's no staggering like there is on the federal level. In Maricopa County, there are 20 legislative districts within the borders. So we don't have time to go over every legislative race, but I will touch on a few of the most contentious ones that maybe have a chance of turning the tide of the House. So in LD 21, which is the Peoria area, Republican incumbent Rick Gray is running unopposed for his Senate seat, but the 2 House seats are up for grabs by Kevin Payne, the incumbent, who's a Republican, and then Kathy Connect, who's a former ASBA president and a school board member, of course, is running as a Democrat for the other seat against another Republican named Beverly Pingarelli. Kathy ran in 2018 as well. Her polling and fundraising have been really strong, but it would be a big lift to have a Democrat elected from that part of the valley. Has a pretty big Republican registration advantage. So we're rooting for Kathy as a former ASBA president, as a big public school advocate, and that'll be an interesting race to watch. And I think it's been pretty surprising for, nerds like me who are into political polling. It's been cool to see her really surprise everybody this year. And then in LD 28, which is the Biltmore Arcadia area, Christine Marsh is once again running against Kate Brophy McGee for that Senate seat. She also ran in 2018 and lost by a mere 267 votes. So that, I'm sure that'll be very tight again this year. And then in LD 23, the northeast part of the valley, kind of Fountain Hills area, there are 4 candidates for 2 open house seats. The Republican incumbent, John Kavanaugh, is running to keep his seat and is being challenged by a Democrat named Eric Kurland, who is a longtime teacher from Scottsdale, as well as 2 other Republicans named Joe Romack and Joseph Chaplick. That race has been making some headlines lately for a little bit of drama among the candidates. But either way, those are 3 districts in our big county with kind of tight races where we might expect to see some Republicans lose their seats and change things a little bit next year. The House is currently 29 Ds to 31 Rs. So we'll see if it changes and what that means for 2021. Next slide, please. And then as far as initiatives go, here is the nuts and bolts of Prop 208, AKA Invest in Ed. What's being proposed is an income tax surcharge for folks making over $250,000 a year or $500,000 for married couples. This would bring their tax rate up to 8% from the current 4.5%. The campaign estimates this would generate about $940 million a year to be distributed to district and charter schools. Most of that revenue would go to salaries, as you see on the screen, but would also support CTE programs, mentoring programs to help promote retention of new teachers, as well as a small amount to the Arizona Teachers Academy run by the Board of Regents to increase scholarships. In particular, the money earmarked for CTE has a pretty generous list of allowable uses. It includes hiring counselors, expanding AP or IB course offerings, tutoring, all sorts of things that are generally just classroom spending could be used for this CTE pot of money. And just to know, I don't know if you guys have seen these attack ads against 208 or if you've had these conversations in your community or on your Facebook feed like I personally have. I've seen a lot of folks are concerned that if 208 passes, the money won't get into the classroom or it would go to administrator or superintendent salaries. Not only does Arizona have one of the lowest levels of administrative spending in the country, but the act directly specifies that none of the money could go to administrator salaries, only non-administrative school personnel. So it's explicit. I think that's a silly argument anyway, that we spend too much on admin. Y'all know how much you spend. You're very responsible with your dollars. But even if we were crazy, this specifically lays out that the money cannot go to administrative salaries. So that's just an FYI. If it comes up, in your community with your Facebook friends in the next few days, you can gently push back with some facts there. I'm happy to take questions if there are any, but if not, back to Stephen to wrap things up.
All right. Thank you, Lee. So as promised, I am back to you with our county director election results. First, just again, I want to thank Brian and Tracy for stepping up and being willing to serve members of our county. I'm also a member of Maricopa. And with that, you have elected Brian Garcia to be your next Maricopa County co-director. So congratulations, Brian. We look forward to serving with you starting December for the next 2 years. I also want to thank Tracy for her years of service to ASBA, not just as a member of the board of directors, but for all the committees. It's been great working with you personally. And I know you're not finished yet, but again, thank you both. Congratulations, Brian. And I believe I am turning it over now to Jill for some prize drawings.
Okay, exciting. Congratulations, Brian. And I do appreciate having the opportunity to work with Tracy. It's been great. So here we go. We have the names of all those who registered for the county meetings have been put into our wheel of names, and Tracy's going to share that with us. We'll be spinning for $3. The winner must be present. So after we do the spin and we read your name, please unmute your mic, Tracy, so that we can know that you're here. So the first book is Sticks and Stones by Emily Bazelon. So Tracy, can you share your screen and spin for us and read the name?
Here we go. Give me just a second. It's going to be super cool. Get ready. All right, here we go.
Gail Knight. Are you here, Gail? I know she was.
I believe. Yep.
Okay, great.
Go, Gail Knight.
Congratulations, Gail. Second book, The Big Book of Attitude. This was from our, we had this in Flagstaff. So we're spinning. Marissa Hernandez, thank you very much. Marissa, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay,
Yay.
great. I'm handing this to you. And the third book, Excellence Through Equity, we'll spin for that. Okay, Patricia Blair, congratulations. Are you still here?
Patricia Blair is here. She's here with Terry Dominguez.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, so I believe that's me, and what a fun way to end the night, Jill. And thank you to all of you for joining Jill and I, officers for the